What's up, everybody? Get some truck time with JD. Welcome to this week's late but still here discipleship prompt. Hope you all are doing well. We are rounding out our time with boundaries of the soul. So we'll be praying about, thinking about what to explore next. If you guys have ideas or things that you would like to discuss and touch on, please talk to Christian Ann and I. Would love to hear your suggestions. Today, we want to round it off. We've been talking about a lot of internal work over the last few months, and the last piece of the puzzle is how do we have boundaries within our own soul around strong emotions in other people that we experience or come across. So we've been talking a lot about strong emotions in ourselves, but we are not isolated human beings. I've the past few days here been diving into a book called Anatomy of the Soul. There is fascinating neurobiology, biological work and evidence that in a really scientific way just proves that we are interconnected beings. Relationship is not some value or Hallmark card thing. It's in our very bones. It's who we are as human beings in our bodies. God made us to be connected with other people, and there's some crazy stuff about, like, you walk in a room and your brain and your body starts to sense the emotions of other people. So it's appropriate for us to turn in this direction, because to be a human is to be in relationship, and which means you're interacting with other people's personalities, but mostly other people's emotions that are strong parts of who they are. Your soul is interacting with other souls. Tidbit, that a lot of our relationship with God kind of happens through that sort of interaction as well. But for today, how do we create barriers, or not barriers, but boundaries with strong emotions of others in our life? In this book that I was reading called The Anatomy of the Soul, the psychologist who wrote it shared this great story of this husband and wife who were having kind of a bit of a conflict. I think the husband forgot to call his mother-in-law on her birthday. Classic mistake. I never do that, so I should get down on him. But it was a really emotionally charged response from his wife, and his reaction was to go drive around the block a bunch of times and just get out of the house. And the wife was like calling him repeatedly and didn't know where he went. And this psychologist was working through this experience, and the dude didn't think that was a big deal. He's like, I just didn't want to do anything I would regret, so I just left the house and went. He was, his own soul was reacting to a strong emotion in his wife of being mad or angry for him for not calling her mom. So maybe you can resonate with an experience like that. And I share that story because one of the things that he brings up in that is that typically in relationships we have, when there's emotional tension with someone, he says almost 80% of the time, our emotional reactivity has more to do or is coming from a source not of the tension between that person necessarily, but how we were raised, or not how we were raised, but how we experienced those different tensions in our family of origin or our previous experiences. So we've been exploring a lot about how we have parts of ourselves like exiles and things like that get activated, and then we have protectors that protect them by outside things, and people have the same sort of processes in them. And I just thought that was fascinating that he says most couples that he works with in counseling, 80% of the issues or tensions that they are facing come from not from their own relationship, but some sort of process of their own internal work or their own internal habits, like this guy's instance. it came from him. His dad was an alcoholic, and whenever he would come home and there would be a lot of conflict, he learned to go out on his bike and protect himself and protect his own body and his own emotions by being sure he was on a bike ride when his dad came home. And so for him, a very natural response to conflict was to go blow off some steam by driving around the neighborhood. To his wife, his wife was like, has my husband left me because he didn't call my mother-in-law? And I was mad about that. So one of the things that I just want to bring to the table is just how having us think through our own emotional responses to others' strong emotions. So I want you to think about in your life, how do you react to strong emotions in other people in your life? I can just share an example from my own life. Christian Ann has done a lot more work than I have, or done a lot of work for her own to feel good about emotional emoting things, I would say. And so typically in my family, we didn't have a lot of space for strong emotions. We shut down and created distance when there was a lot of tension. And Christian Ann was used to environments where it was okay to give more emotion. And certainly in our marriage, there was a lot of misinterpretation early. I would like shut down and shrink away, where Christian Ann was like, what is going on here? Am I not getting through to you? And I've learned to do my own internal work with being okay with the expression of strong emotions, even allowing myself to do that in relationship with her and in our home. But initially, I was just unaware of how my own body reacted to strong emotions of other people around me. And now when that happens, I become conscious of what I'm doing, and I'm like, oh, my body is shutting down, I'm retreating, my eyes are moving down in a way, and there's a protector in me protecting something in me from this conflict. So what does that look like for you? How do you do you feel like you're able to be yourself around people who are expressing strong emotions, or do you feel like there's a part of you that either shuts down or becomes hyperactive and reactive to that? And maybe explore that a little bit and do the U-turn process of focusing on that part of yourself. Imagine yourself in a situation of strong emotions. Befriend that part of yourself. Ask Jesus to draw near. And then unburden. Try to think, is there parts of you in your past? Is there parts of you that are still carrying pain around situations of strong emotion that maybe you might be bringing into relationships where there's strong emotion in other people? Because strong emotion is not a negative thing. Strong emotions can be very appropriate. But our reaction to them, the invitation for us is to be aware of our reaction and our processing of those strong emotions around us. And I think it's really important for us to let Jesus, the Holy Spirit, draw near to those parts of ourself that are highly reactive, either in hyperreaction or shutting down in relation to strong emotions to others. Part of this, I'll just add, just from a missional perspective, our mission is always relational. Loving our neighbors in the way of Jesus will always be relational. And if we're doing that, we're going to get in the nitty-gritty with people. We're going to experience strong emotions. Our city this year just went through a year of really strong emotions, which were good and needed, and a lot needed to be expressed. And I think we as Christians need to be able to do the internal work to notice our own reactions to those strong, justified, and important expressions of things, so that we can notice and pay attention to what the Holy Spirit is doing in that. The best we can be as missionary people is to be a calm, assertive presence in the midst of those strong spaces, so that we can listen to what the Holy Spirit's up to and not shut down or not hyperactivate, and we're able to be ourselves in the midst of those strong spaces. So that's what we're talking about this week. So how close do you feel to yourself? How yourself do you feel in proximity to strong emotions in other people? And then what resonates with you in this whole concept and idea? Where do you think God might be inviting you to do some more work in this area. So looking forward to our conversation later.